What is up, everybody? Welcome to week 2 of the WWE RAW post show here with Santi Zap. Santi, man, I feel like every time we see each other, we're like in different parts of the world, but here we are, man, ready to have a good time and chat about RAW. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. Have you told everybody what you were doing today yet?
No, I actually haven't. Well, I've been posting it on Twitter, so maybe some of you guys might have seen it there. But I'm currently right now in Dallas, Texas, and it's kind of insane, Santi. So I'm from California, as everybody knows, and I booked this hotel, right? And I didn't really like think much about it. I honestly just booked like the first thing that I can find because there was limited options, and there were like it was super last minute. And get this, they put me on the 49th floor. So I am super high up. And as a Californian, I was like, oh my God, I'm kind of scared. But then I realized that there was no earthquakes here. So I'm pretty okay. But I was here for I was
That's
here
such
for
that's such a specific fear to have, by the way. That you have to be on a daily occurrence afraid of earthquakes, for God's sake.
I would never be on the 49th floor in a Los Angeles skyrise. Hells no, man. So I was super nervous about that, but I'm here for AEW. They did this big, giant AEW All-In press event, which was great because I got to talk with Tony Khan, Bobby Lashley, Darby Allin, Swerve Strickland. My dream interview, Santi, it finally happened. Bryan Danielson. I couldn't believe it, man. I was losing my shit for that one. So I was very excited, very excited. Good stuff, and it's all up here on the channel.
And you made time to watch Monday Night Raw. You made time for the post show here. Denise Salcedo, ladies and gentlemen, she's everywhere and anywhere all at once. How'd you like Raw? Like just as a initial gut feeling, how'd you like Raw?
Dude, I came in to watch Raw today and I thought, like, okay, like the start was a little bit whatever. But I really thought this was one of those shows that if you were to sort of turn the knob in the right direction and every single time you turned it, it's because it got better and better and better. That is exactly how I felt about today's episode. I thought every sort of segment that we saw progressed the show to feel just a lot more stronger. And the way that we closed out the show with Rhea and Raquel, I really loved what they did there. It felt fresh. It felt hot. So overall, I thought this was a fun Raw. How about you?
I thought the same thing. Actually, I think you and I are on the same wavelength there. It did progressively get better. I thought that it was a shame that the women didn't get like a proper, like long main event match. It just felt really rushed. They put that commercial break like to give them coming back only like 4 minutes. But the little time that they had, they developed so much. The match was great. The feuds that are currently ongoing got developed. Feuds that could happen in the future got teased. So it was all around just a good finish and a good, nice build up throughout the entire episode. So let's chat about it.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and start things off with the main event since we already started talking about that. So let's get to it. Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, anything goes. Santi, I don't know about you, but this just felt right. I know you mentioned the brief amount of time that was given, and I 100% second you on that. I think like an additional 5 minutes would have really made this like one of the top women's matches that we've seen on Raw, at least for sure this entire year. I think it could have been really up there with an extra couple of minutes. It might still be really up there for me because it felt right in the sense that Rhea Ripley is such a massive star that this is where it feels right to have her on the main event. And of course, you know, we haven't seen her, you know, have a main event spot like this in quite a while. And then to see Raquel, who had also been out for health reasons for a good amount of time, come back and really get the ball rolling like this in such a, big fashion for her. Dude, this just hit for me in all the right places. It felt like a big deal. It was fresh. It started hot. The finish with the riptide through the table, I thought that was fantastic. And even Liv Morgan getting involved, I didn't mind it because, of course, it was anything goes. And I didn't think clearly she didn't destroy or ruin Rhea Ripley's opportunity here in the finish. So this kind of hit the mark for me on all of it. I loved it.
Yeah, Rhea and Raquel have this really underratedly good chemistry. Every single time that they have a match, I remember their feud in the fall of last year. I think it was like they had a match at Payback, and I think a match at Fastlane. They always just sort of clicked really, really well together, and it just sort of felt like it was picking up a bicycle and riding it again. They just felt right at home with one another. Couple of things I want to mention. You mentioned that it's been a while since we've gotten Rhea Ripley in this spot. Joe Tessitore mentioned that was her first singles match in over a year on Monday Night Raw, which is kind of crazy to think about, that the women's world champion that was the women's world champion for so long on Monday Night Raw didn't have a singles match for almost a year or over a year. I can't remember exactly what the quote was. I was also just really happy for Raquel to get a main event spot. I think that was great. And I felt like this was an expectedly good performance from Rhea Ripley and a good badass performance from Raquel, somebody that needed it for her character, somebody that needed this badass showing as she goes into that women's Intercontinental Championship tournament to feel like a genuine threat going into her initial matches. And I love the insertion of Iyo Sky. So when I was doing my watch along, one of the things that I said to my chat was kind of lame that they keep building Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley when the match that we have in like 5 days is Iyo versus Liv Morgan. And like on cue, Iyo Sky comes out to help continue to set up that feud, which I'm really excited for that match. But it was like that little finishing sequence, Denise, that finishing sequence of Iyo Sky and Rhea Ripley grabbing the title. Just another reminder from Triple H of look at the dream matches that I've yet to give you. And this is one of those dream matches that I think could be set up for something like WrestleMania, because one of my Rumble favorites is Iyo Sky. I could see a world where Iyo wins the world title and Rhea takes that world title into WrestleMania. There's just so many cool progression of current storylines and creation of potential future storylines that just sort of got me giddy with that main event.
Dude, I'm so glad that you mentioned the portion with Iyo Sky. I kind of felt stupid because you mentioned, okay, Triple H is letting us know there are still so many dream matches on the horizon. I feel so dumb that I didn't even think, hey, Rhea Ripley, Iyo Sky. I think my brain has just been so focused, of course, on everything that she's been doing with Liv, but also, sort of my dream fantasy or whatever, everyone's dream fantasy of seeing her and Bianca Belair. Hey, I saw the eyes, Santi. Dream fantasy.
Hey, you said it. I'm just here for the ride.
I meant, I love it. It's one of those things where I was sort of thinking, why didn't I think of it? Like, why didn't I think of it sooner? But I'm so glad that you mentioned Iyo Sky as a possible Royal Rumble winner, because I don't know about you. Here's the thing. Iyo has always been talented. She's always had a lot of fans. We know this, right? But she has lately, in the last, I don't know, month or two, maybe 3, she has felt sort of brand new. It's like she got fully charged. Her battery is fully charged, and we are seeing her just go out there and feel exciting. People are excited to see what she does, to see her wrestle, to see any sort of moment that she gets. So it feels like a new chapter for Iyo Sky, and I could see her no longer being, so much so in the shadows, but being a little bit in the more forefront and center with your big players like your Rhea Ripleys, like your Liv Morgans, and all of those people.
Yeah, and I honestly don't blame you for forgetting about Iyo Sky, because she spent so long in that tag team division when she wasn't really a tag team specialist. It's not really what she's known for. We always have known her as this great singles competitor, and unfortunately, at least this is my opinion, I don't feel like the WWE did a great job of following up her great feud with Bayley post WrestleMania 40. And by not doing a great job of following up, I mean, they didn't do jack shit. They didn't do anything with the follow-up to what was a really great built-up feud. And I felt like not having that follow-up for Iyo Sky really damaged her single stock. And it took a while for her to come out of the ashes, and it took her a while to be in the tag team division, be in the shadows for a while. And then once she was once again re-unleashed into the women's singles picture, it was this kind of like reawakening for everybody that had to say, oh shit, how did I forget about how good Iyo Sky is? So it was a very quick crash course reintroduction into the women's main event scene for Iyo Sky, in a women's main event scene that has not really had room for anybody else unless you're named Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. So it just sort of feels like we're getting something brand new when we're really not. Like, Iyo Sky has been in a title picture before. She's been a main eventer before. But on Monday Night Raw, that it's been so closed off for anyone non-name Rhea and Liv that it just feels nice to have somebody brand new, a fresh face in the equation.
Yeah, even with Raquel, seeing her in there with Rhea, that felt exciting. And of course, you mentioned earlier their history on NXT and all of that. But I think you're right, because when I think back to WrestleMania, for example, of course, seeing Iyo and also seeing Bayley, that was hot. That was great. But like you said, the follow-up wasn't great. But even heading into that matchup, it wasn't necessarily so much about Iyo and Bayley. It was about Damage Control and Bayley, the group as a whole versus one particular individual. And I kind of feel like that whole time, it sort of took away from Iyo. And now we're in a position where it doesn't feel that way. So I do love what we're seeing. And I'm excited, man. Seeing her and Rhea close out the show, be the final last few moments, both of them insinuating that they want to be women's world champion, holding that championship while also teasing a potential feud with them was great. Now, here's the thing, though. I said we hadn't seen, or, Joe Setsasor obviously had said over a year since we've seen Rhea Ripley in a singles match. It's better yet in a main event too. One of the other matches that also felt fresh, Santi, was Dakota Kai versus Liv Morgan, because even though Liv Morgan is your champion, I personally feel like it's been we don't get to see her in these singles matches very often. Better yet, against people like Dakota Kai on a Raw. Of course, on PLE, she's been on those, but on a Raw, though, it's kind of rare. So, of course, this one was a little bit more, you weren't really expecting Dakota Kai to defeat Liv Morgan, but I did like that they sort of protected Dakota Kai by having the Pure Fusion Collective out there. And basically, Dakota Kai was sort of outnumbered here because they were trying to, distract her, in which so many cases they did. But of course, Liv Morgan, she hits her oblivion. She gets the win. And Dakota Kai is left afterwards to get beat up by the Pure Fusion Collection. Of course, we do see Iyo get involved with Liv there. So 2 times on the show, we did get to see Iyo and Liv sort of go at it. But how did you feel about seeing Liv Morgan in this match against Dakota Kai?
I'm glad that we got both of those specific individuals in this match. I felt like this was a good vote of confidence for Dakota Kai's singles run, right? Because her current singles run before this match just sort of felt like, we need to scramble and make a lot of people believe that all of these people are singles competitors so that they can be seen as believable contenders for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. If you look at pretty much 80% of the competitors in that, it's people that are in factions, it's people that are in tag teams, it's people that haven't had proper singles runs in a while. So it feels like WWE has had to sort of rush with the likes of Dakota Kai to reintroduce her into the zeitgeist as a singles competitor in the WWE. So having her have matches with the Women's World Champion, even if they never seem like a believable potential winner, I don't think anybody believed that she would walk out with a victory the week before Saturday night's main event against Liv Morgan. But just simply the fact that she's now in that conversation, having matches against women that are in that main event scene, women that are closing episodes of Monday Night Raw, that's just all around good for Dakota Kai. But this is also a great showcase of Liv Morgan, because the match was actually very good, very technically sound as well. They worked really, really well together. PFC just doesn't do it for me, Denise. I can't.
It's the name, Santi. It's the name. Let me ask you a question. If they changed their name to badass, alpha, female, women, kick-ass, I don't know, some really cool name, would you like them?
Rock'em sock'em ladies, I don't know. It doesn't work for me. I don't understand what it is. Maybe it is the name, Denise, but I cannot stand the PFC. I don't even know if it's a collective or a collection. I don't know. I have to Google it. I don't. You said collection and collective in the past 4 minutes. And I'm like, yep, they're both right. I don't know which one's right. PFC doesn't do it for me. One of the commentaries that I had during my my watch along was great match. I'm happy with the finish. Just wish PFC wasn't here. It doesn't do it for me. This feud between Damage Control, PFC, they've explored that already. I feel like they've already juiced as much interestingness out of it as they possibly can. I'm already starting to see the tea leaves here. I have a feeling that Raquel is going to move on. The semifinal is going to be Raquel versus Dakota Kai, and PFC is going to cost Dakota Kai. And we're going to go back down this rabbit hole of Dakota Kai, PFC, which makes sense. They took her out. You know, she was out for a couple months because of the PFC. But Denise, I do not give a shit. PFC cannot get anything that makes me want to glue my eyes to the screen. At least not yet.
Instead, you're like, I want to take my eyes off. But
I want to pour hot glue in my eyes. I want to shut my eyelids with staples when PFC is there.
Okay, counter argument. What is the name? I do think that if they change the name, maybe that'll help, okay? Maybe just like tweak it a little bit, rebrand it. I do like them coming out with the all black and looking really badass in that way. I'm cool with that. The other thing that I think, and this is number two, I think that this is the thing that's hurting them, is that I'm assuming Sonya Deville is the leader here, but as the leader, though, she's not coming. Here's the thing. When you have a faction and you have a leader, that leader has to have this big presence. They have to have this aura. They have to be, feeling like a Roman Reigns, right? Like they have to come out with some presence, so speak some attitude, anything, right? And the problem is that they're all being presented exactly the same way. I'm not even sure Sonya Deville's the leader. I'm just assuming she's the leader. But I do think if they had somebody that was very, talkative and cut good promos and had a lot of personality, that it would then carry the other two, Sonya and Zoe, because they all have something very valuable, I think. When I see Zoe, I think, okay, she's still, green on the sense of promos and whatnot, right? And the character portion of it, but she's really good in the ring. So she has that going for her. Shayna Baszler, she is one scary MFer. I look at her and I'm thinking, I'm never messing with Shayna Baszler.
Oh, yeah.
So you have the monster in the group. So now Sonya as the leader, who I think she needs to try to maybe show a little bit more oomph, a little bit more personality. And maybe with those two tweaks, we can see a successful female group here.
I think you're hitting it on the head. I think maybe the name is a little bit of it, but just like their identity and what they're trying to accomplish in the women's division has also been really murky. If you remember when they originally came in, we're here to run Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw runs through us. One, what does that mean? Two, you lost every match and every feud, and then you would lose, and then you'd get on backstage segments and say, yeah, that's right. Monday Night Raw still runs through us. What are you talking? Everyone's running through you. So their identity and their purpose seems just a little bit off. And I'm having a really tough time as a fan connecting with them. But, you mentioned as individual pieces, I don't feel like they're being used properly when they get brought into this group. Sonya Deville should be on the mic so much more as
it's Denise motion detected.
Denise, get up and do.
Hold on.
You're gonna need to do some jumping jacks here.
Oh shit! All right, I knew I banged my knee on the table.
That was so much more entertaining than anything Pure Fusion Collection has done.
I tried to work the lights out of this hotel room beforehand, but I'm like, no, this is not working. And what's worse is I can't even wave my arms just here in the desk. I have to go to the center of the room to turn the lights back on.
I don't know how deep we are into this show, but I think it's maybe like 15 minutes. Are we going to have to do this every 15 minutes?
I hope not, because it was on during Raw, so maybe 30 minutes. Okay, but right. Yeah, this is going to be like, I'm gassed already, Santi.
Anyways, Pure Fusion Collective, I want to like them. Like, I'm not a Debbie Downer for the sake of being a Debbie Downer, but I'm being a Debbie Downer on this one. I'm not. It's not working for me.
I don't blame you, because there's a group that I feel the exact same way that you feel, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But let's go ahead and get into these super chats here. We got Sheldon Jackson in the house. It says, man, Gunther can't avoid the Judgment Day vortex. And as world champion, he don't deserve to be in that vortex, shaking my damn head. So Santi, I got to tell you, man, while I was watching Raw, I got a text from somebody. Won't mention anybody who or what, but somebody texted me and was like, man, I ended up in an argument. Because they were like, Gunther doesn't have it. Gunther shouldn't be champion. Gunther's not good, this and that. And my argument was, No, absolutely not. He is stuck here in this Judgment Day angle that I think is sort of bringing Gunther down. I agree with Sheldon Jackson super chat here because look, Gunther has been doing this. He's had several matches now with Damian Priest, and now he's, in this with Finn Balor. The Judgment Day is involved in this. This, to me, the Judgment Day has now become, at least for the men's side of things, it feels like the skunk you're trying to avoid so you don't freaking get sprayed and end up stinking. But unfortunately, it's happened to Gunther. And I do think that Gunther is a great champion. He has just been stuck in a feud that took too long to finish off with, that even continued even after it already felt done. And now he's in a feud with Finn Balor and the Judgment Day that isn't really feeling necessarily like hot stuff. So I ended up in this argument defending Gunther and sort of just saying the reasoning being that he is stuck in this Judgment Day vortex now.
Yeah, I think the feeling of him feeling like he's stuck in this Judgment Day vortex is predominantly because this isn't his feud. He's just there. And a champion shouldn't just be an auxiliary third party, third wheel piece to the feud that's going on, because this is a Finn Balor, Damian Priest feud. Through and through, it is. And even the Survivor Series match was pretty much just an addition to the Damian Priest and Finn Balor feud, because we had the same finish of SummerSlam happen again. And it does sort of feel like we're in this rinse, wash, repeat cycle for Gunther, where he's just sort of there having the World Heavyweight Championship, trying to make this feud feel bigger than it is, the Damian Priest and Finn Balor feud, by adding the World Heavyweight Championship to it. And by adding the World Heavyweight Championship to this feud, it brings Gunther down to this feud when we want Gunther to be doing bigger and better things. I'm okay with Gunther versus Finn Balor. I'm okay with Gunther versus Damian Priest if they're actually feuds for Gunther. It's just that they keep using those two guys as matches for Gunther, but in the process building a feud for one another and not Gunther. So it just sort of feels like Gunther is in a bit of a rat race until he can get out of this and actually build a meaningful, lengthy, meaty feud for himself. I don't know. At this point, I'll take anybody. I'll take a feud with Tozawa. I'll take it. I'll take a feud with the Pure Fusion Collective if it means that it's furthering a Gunther narrative, because even though Gunther is on the mic, it's just furthering Finn and Damian. It's not furthering or helping better legitimize the reign of Gunther, unfortunately.
My assumption here is that they have plans for Gunther. For example, once we get into Rumble, once we get into Mania and all of that, I have a feeling they have big plans for him. But the problem is they don't have anything for him from now until they get to those big plans. So he's just sort of, bouncing around, like you said, being part of feuds that aren't necessarily about him. And so that's kind of bringing down Gunther, because when he was Intercontinental Champion, he had this aura of, I'm coming out. But also, when he was Intercontinental Champion, he was defending the belt on a weekly basis, and you were seeing him against all types of opponents. And I really do think that is what helped Gunther a whole lot. So here's the thing, though. For Saturday night's main event, this match is now a triple threat. It's Gunther, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest, which adds to your point, Santi, about this ain't really about Gunther.
No. This is Beyonce featuring Destiny's Child. This is Damian Priest versus Finn Balor featuring Ludacris, featuring Gunther. This isn't his match. This isn't his feud. And that's why I think you, me, and so many people are just feeling like this is just filler. Like we're waiting for the real, like you said, the real Gunther feud down the line. Maybe that kicks off a Raw Netflix. That kicks off going into the Royal Rumble. You want to know what the problem partly is? It's that the fact that we've had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre both called their damn shot against Gunther and not get it. So we know that there's better feuds waiting in the wings for Gunther. But we've been stuck over the last couple of months with these feuds that's just aren't it for him, sadly.
You mentioned feuds in the wings sort of waiting around. There's another one. Ludwig Kaiser. They teased that for like a brief second that, hey, this feud, like they're going to break up at some point. That's another one that we're sort of like waiting for it to officially implode. And so, yeah, you're right. We are sort of on a pause for Gunther. So hopefully that picks up and hopefully it doesn't ruin the aura and the mystique of Gunther, because that is something that I think has made him the most appealing. But we got John Taylor here with a super chat who says, New Day with that dirty Dom heat. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. We got Bailey Darley here who says, I hated the ending of Wyatt 6 versus Final Testament because the mask had meant to protect the face, and loved the New Day segment. I can't wait to get into that. Thank you so much, Bailey Darley. We got John Taylor here who says, also notice you hit 190K, only 10 left to get to 10K left to get to 200K for the holidays. Santi, I'm going to need like a miracle for that to happen, bro. Like I was thinking it might happen, and now I'm like, it's going to take a little longer. I've been sort of going back and forth on this, but eventually it will happen, hopefully.
I'm confident. Yeah, you're going to be fine. You're going to hit that 200K. And then it's on to 300K, and then you'll be right next to me, Denise, at 300K, because I just hit it. I just hit 300K. So please, congratulations to me. Please, everybody, please. Thank you.
I see, I'm trying to catch up, Santi. Like I'm right behind you. I'm like, I'm coming. We got Bailey Darley here who says, I want Iyo to win the title. I think you and probably a couple of others for sure. We also got Bailey Darley here who says, my prediction for main event is Iyo, Gunther, Cody, Drew, and Chelsea Green. Great predictions and picks there for the winners. We got John Taylor here who says, Seth sad CM Punk left him on red for 11 years. I can't wait to get to that, Santi, because I have a rule about ghosting. You know what? Let's get to it right now.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So Seth Rollins and CM Punk, there was kind of a bit that happened here, all right? CM Punk does a sit down with Jackie Redmond, and she basically asks him about the favor. Of course, he's not going to tell us. He says that's between Paul and I. And then he goes on to address Seth Rollins and basically says, look, I don't hate the guy. He hates me. He's been in my shadow. All right, fine. That was pretty brief. Then we get to the Seth Rollins promo. And Seth, I thought this was so freaking funny because Seth comes out and he starts bringing out these receipts. He starts talking about how CM Punk, he used to idolize him. He used to be friends with him. He used to go and ask him for help. They used to be friends. But when he left the company, not only did he trash WWE for years, but he ignored also Seth Rollins' text messages, his phone calls, absolutely everything. He ghosted Seth Rollins. And then on top of that, he said the only reason he came back to the company was because he burned bridges everywhere else. He failed everywhere else. And let's face it, the money was good. And Santi, I thought at first, I'm like, okay, the crowd kind of seems a little confused for a second, right? But then at the end of it all, they start chanting CM Punk's name after everything that Seth Rollins said here. And I thought, damn, Seth Rollins got egg on his face. He brought up some pretty legitimate points that I thought that the crowd would boo, but they didn't. They sided with CM Punk in this.
I sided with Punk too. I love when we disagree, Denise. I
also side with CM Punk. But Seth Rollins does have some good points, though.
Does he? He didn't answer my text. Dear Punk, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I left my cell, my pager, and my home phone at the bottom. It's been 3 days since I wrote. Like, it was just Stan. He's mad. He's a Stan. He's mad that he didn't get a text back from CM Punk. I'm supposed to buy into that's the reason why we have this legendary heat and hatred between these two. That didn't work for me. The fact that he came back for money, he didn't come back for charity. You're there for money too. That also just didn't work for me. And I feel like the crowd kind of saw through that. I feel like we were going to get like a better reason,
There was only one that I thought was fair, Santi, and it was him saying that he trashed WWE for years. I'm like, okay, sure, that makes sense. Yeah. That's the one. That's the real strong one.
That's what he should have leaned on. That to me is his kind of ace up his sleeve, like where I think we can all agree. I think everybody as wrestling fans during that era, during all of those, the of course the infamous podcast with Cole Cabana, lots of WWE fans were like, ooh. you're not burning bridges, you're nuking these bridges. And of course, we have the absolutely obliterated and nuked bridge that is both UFC with his poor performance and AEW, which were pretty much alluded to without being directly said when Seth Rollins said that Punk has already burned all of these bridges. That's why he has to come back. This is the only place that's got a bridge left. But yeah, like I get why the crowd chanted CM Punk, because it felt too petty to be justifiable of this, what could very well be a WrestleMania worthy feud and feud of the decade. Do you know what the kids say these days? They say this will feed families for generations. That's
yeah. Is that what the kids are saying?
That's what they say, that they will feed, that this feud will feed and end world hunger. That's what they say. That's a thing.
I just knew chef's kiss. Whenever someone says chef's kiss or like, hey, this person is cooking, that's it. Those are the only ones I'm up to date with, Santi. But here's the thing. It was so funny to me to just see that Seth Rollins had egg on his face during this, because like I said, there was a while at a certain point where there were all of these people that were against CM Punk. All of these people had Seth Rollins cut this promo when Punk was still with AEW. Everyone would have been like, yes, hallelujah, Seth Rollins. They would have been bowing down to him, but things are definitely a lot different now. And it's just so funny to me. One of the other things that Seth mentioned was that he thought that CM Punk would be a great politician because he's always spinning the truth. And I died at that comment. I thought it was so funny because, CM Punk is a very controversial individual, but I also think that's a big part of the appeal and why people are so enthralled with CM Punk, man. Like, I love that CM Punk speaks its truth, even if sometimes people don't agree with him. Like, I remember when shit went down with him in AEW, I thought I did not like that AEW fired CM Punk. And that to this day is still a controversial issue. Because, people are going to land on different sides of it when it comes to CM Punk because he has had such a controversial past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they are willing to ignore it. Because like you said, like he's bringing up these controversial things about CM Punk, these things that under most circumstances would make somebody dislikable, but this is just Punk, it's like, with the things that you're pointing out, okay, water's wet. What else? I already know these things about CM Punk, and I still love CM Punk despite these things. And you think that you're gonna buy my support by telling me that he didn't text you back, you little baby? That was my reaction to things. That being said, I'm a massive CM Punk stan. I'm also a CM Punk stan, like Seth Rollins was in 2014, apparently.
So, Santi, let me ask you a question. This is because I want to get into my ghosting rule here. All right. Have you ever been ghosted or ghosted somebody or both? Because I've been on both sides of it. I've been ghosted and ghosted somebody, right?
Yeah.
It happens, right? It's life, right? Sometimes you're the hunter, sometimes you're the prey. It just happens. All right. My rule for this is 3 text messages. Okay. If someone sends you 3 text messages and you don't respond to that person, to me, that should be a sign that they're probably ghosting you. Now, if you send more than 3 text messages and that person never gets back to you, you should just let it go because they are ghosting you. So I call this my rule of 3 for ghosting. If I send 3 text messages and they don't respond, that's it. I'm not going to bug them anymore. Just got to take the L. You're being ghosted and move on from there. I don't know. Is that too extreme?
I think
3 messages?
No. I think that's fair. I think 3 messages is enough leeway. My rule of when to do the ghosting, though, that sometimes you got to pull the trigger on it. My rule on when I do the ghosting is if we have plans and you cancel them and you don't try to reschedule them, I'm not going to do the job of rescheduling them. You need to do that labor. You need to do the heavy lifting of rescheduling it. And if you do not care enough to try and reschedule with me, then I'm not going to message back. I'm not going to reach out. Santi doesn't get, desperate. That's not how Santi works. Santi didn't get the 300,000 subscribers by begging. That's not how, maybe I did. I do ask people to subscribe all the time.
I'm in the begging phase right now.
maybe I do beg.
Yeah. Okay, I'll beg 3 times though, and that's the limit right there. After 3 times, you got to be done. You got to be done. But hey, man, it happens. Or it happens. All right, so we got Bailey Darley here who says, "Got any sponsors, Denise, to show off? Not today, but some hopefully in some upcoming shows." There, we got Ryan Adams there here who says, "To be fair, they did lose Dakota and Asuka for a while, so they needed someone to team with Kyrie." Yeah, man, and I'm so glad that at least I do want to see a little bit more from Kyrie. By the way, she's somebody too that I think there's a lot more that you kind of want to pick away at and see what else she brings to the table, because she's also a fan favorite as well. We got Spend Big here who says, "Shout out to you for working so hard. Got to watch all your interviews right after this. Please do, guys. Everybody knows that I fund myself for these trips to come out here. And the only way that I make my money back, Santi, you know this, is by putting videos out and praying to God that the YouTube algorithm shows them to people and that, it all works out in the end. So thank you so much, Spend Big. Yes, guys, please check out these interviews with Bobby Lashley, Swerve Strickland, Bryan Danielson, Tony Khan, all of them. We got Terrence Johnson here who says, "Roxanne beats Julia. Stephanie and Zarya pinned Roxanne, but Julia wins Iron Survivor. I'm confused." All right, so on the NXT front, I haven't gotten a chance to watch a Deadline yet, so I'm going to have to come back tomorrow on the NXT post show and get a little bit more into that. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to watch yet, but Terrence, I'll circle back to you on that one. We got Nishi Emmanuel who sent in a super chat. Didn't send in a comment, but still, thank you so much for sending this in. We got Sleaze Boy here who says, "If they're going to break up Judgment Day, they need to book Liv Morgan versus Yoko as Yoko Ono and have her sing like Yoko Ono." What? Santi, what do you think of this?
I don't even know where to begin. Can we just move on? I have no comment on that. What?
Sleaze Boy, we don't know what's happening here. We got John Taylor here who says, "I received a letter in the mail from Pure Fusion Collective that I had an unpaid parking ticket." Dead. That's a good one, John.
That's good.
We got Ryan Adams who says 10 out of 10 twirl, Denise. Thank you very much. Twirling expert. Give me 5 stars. We got Stephen Marchulli who says, "I think the 3-way is made to get the title off of Gunther without taking the pin. I'm sorry, but Gunther should not be dropping the title."
Agreed. No way. No way, Jose. That will actually hurt Gunther. Losing the title in what we've just said is not his feud, because then what do you do with him? What's the next play? I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Like, one of the things that has me in the mindset of like, maybe they will, is the fact that Triple H has all of a sudden brought Shinsuke Nakamura out of obscurity, and maybe he's just willing to do that with Finn Balor, because Shinsuke and Finn have sort of been two sides of the same coin, the shoulda, woulda, coulda fan clubs. And they did it with Shinsuke. Maybe they'll do it with Finn, but this isn't the right moment for Finn. It's just not right. So
it wasn't the right moment for Shinsuke either, mind you. I wasn't on board with that. I wasn't a fan. Okay, I was not on board. Were you on board?
Cool. Santi? Just because he's so cool. Look, the only reason I'm cool with it is because I've waited for so long. It didn't. Some people say it felt rushed with Shinsuke, but it also, in my mind, didn't, because we've been down this path with Shinsuke for so long. I wished it was in a better feud, like they had told a better story, but beggars can't be choosers. Shinsuke Nakamura fans can't exactly be picky choosy about when Shinsuke gets his push. If they're going to give him his push now, then just do it. You're not going to get any backlash from me.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? I wasn't a fan. I didn't like the match. I also felt that it was too rushed. I just wasn't here for it. But going back to Gunther, though, when it comes to someone taking off the World's Heavyweight Championship off of him, I want it to be like the same situation where when he was Intercontinental Champion, that, we were like, oh, my God, who's going to be the person that takes the title off of Gunther? I want it to be that exact same way with the World's Heavyweight Championship. I cannot believe I have to do this again. I finally got down to my proper breathing levels.
Dancing queen, young and sweet, only 17.
This is humiliating.
You can dance. You can have in the time of your life.
I love it. Thank you so much. I was like, I put like zero effort into my dancing. I'm like, I don't want to be gassed again for the next 5 minutes of this show. We got David Primero here who says, if I was Triple H, I use a star like Becky to put over PFC, or maybe use Maxine as bait, like how Nia put Lana on the table every week. That could work. Zoe needs a new look. She looks like a costume superstar from, custom superstar from 2K. Here's the thing. I think that there's a better use for Becky Lynch than probably using her to put over the PFC. So if I was going to use Becky Lynch to put over somebody else, it would be somebody totally different. It would be like something like what they were sort of teasing for a bit there, Santi, with her and Lyra, somebody like that instead. And then I hated every single time that Nia would put Lana through the table every week. I remember that just kind of became like pretty repetitive at that point. But I do think that Zoe, she would look cooler, like, you know, maybe like add some color to her hair or something cool like that. So, or add some, I don't know, something to your gear. I'm saying tassels because that's the first thing that came up to my mind, but maybe not tassels. Maybe some studs, like some cool studs.
Sure. I can't make it worse.
Santi, one of these days, they're going to become your favorite act. I don't know when, but it's going to happen someday.
I will eat my pants before that happens. I'm willing to put that out into the ether. If that happens, I will stir fry with onions my pants, and I will eat them on our next show when that happens, if PFC becomes my favorite.
What do you think will happen first? All right. I need people to vote here in the chat as well and everywhere. Santi becomes a PFC fan or Denise becomes a Final Testament fan?
Ooh.
What comes first? Because I feel the exact same way about the Final Testament. Everything that you said about PFC, copy and paste, and just same exact feelings.
Is it the Final Testament as a group, or is it what Carrion does?
It's the whole group.
All right, the whole
thing.
kit and caboodle. Okay.
All of it. There's just no win it for me. So let's talk about that. We had them versus the Wyatt Six, and two things. Honestly, I have two things to say about this. One, I'm glad to finally see the Wyatt Six go out there, see everybody go out there and wrestle. I love seeing Nikki come from behind of Scarlett. I thought that was really great. I love seeing everybody get their moment. Second thing that I do need to say is I think that Karrion Kross's finisher, the final prayer, was super weak. He needs to change it. I hate that finisher. And those are my two brilliant thoughts for the day.
You want to know what my question was? So I said this in my chat. You know when oh my goodness, what is his Paul Ellering? When Paul Ellering came out and like threw the chalk or something in Uncle Howdy's face.
Yeah, the powder.
Yeah, I literally said, "Wait, chat. Was he there the whole time, or is this a return?" I don't
Paul
know.
Ellering?
Yeah, was that a return, or did he come out with them?
No, he came out with them, didn't he?
Are you sure?
I think I'm sure.
Okay, I don't actually know. I don't know if that was supposed to be like the shock return of Paul Ellering, because he was taken out and written out for a couple of weeks by when he got put in that mandible claw.
It's a return according to our chat. Okay, we're good. People pay better attention than we did.
But that's not our fault. That's just a demonstration of how lackluster that was. And maybe it was also the commentary work on it didn't particularly really hit it home that it was a return. But I had to wonder, I was like, wait, hang on, did he walk out with them the whole time? Or is this like a huge shock return of Paul Ellering? What I will say.
When did he leave? When and why did he leave? I don't remember that.
So when Uncle Howdy went to go hit the Miz with the mandible claw a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I remember
he
that
hit Paul
now.
Ellering
And he was super pissed about it. Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, why is he going in and saving the Miz? The Miz isn't even one of his guys. See, this has been so unappealing that I don't even remember the biggest spot of this entire story, the biggest moment, the big thing. Don't even remember it.
Well, again, it's not your fault. I think this match was like aggressively fine. I don't think that I have any negatives about it. Again, the cool spots and with everybody, the Nikki Cross coming out. What I will say is there was a lot of shock online of the Wyatt Six losing. I'm fine with it because now they don't have this like aura of they have to win all the time. Now they can enter into matches and feuds, and it can really be a toss-up because every time that they were in the ring with American Made or anything to do with Chad Gable, I just always thought that they were unstoppable and unbeatable. I'm glad that this first loss is out of the way so that their upcoming matches and feuds can have that feeling of anybody could win, but it did sort of feel a little bit underwhelming how they lost. I don't think that the return
finisher stinks, Santi.
The finishers isn't great, but also the big moment was this like, okay, the Paul Ellering return, right? It was a big moment that didn't feel like a big moment. So compounding everything, it wasn't a great, tidy little package there at the end.
I feel you, man. I'm sorry. I'm just not on board on this with this. And I it's just a part of the show where I'm like, all right, this isn't for me. It's probably for somebody else. Great. But we got John Taylor here who says, congrats on 300K, Santi. We also got Bailey Darley who says, well done, Santi, on 300K subscribers. We also have the Bep Jr. who says, my prediction is Liv and Cody retaining at Saturday night's main event. John Taylor says the crowd saw CM Punk as that Luigi dude. I know you know you know.
Move on.
Okay. John Taylor says,
just move on.
All right. I looked at you for guidance, Santi. Did you notice that?
Move on.
I looked at you. I was like, what are we going with here? All right, John Taylor says, Phil may be an a-hole, but he's our a-hole, says John Taylor. Stephen Martrulli says, Seth will be the heel versus Punk. Fans will turn on him. Oh, 100%. I felt that Seth Rollins was the heel in this for sure.
Seth Rollins, okay. So I do think that eventually that's going to be hit home a little bit more, but they kind of just took one big step with Seth being heel, and then Sami Zayn went out there. We didn't really talk about that, by the way.
That's true. I should bring that
Sami
up
Zayn went out there, and in that interaction, it kind of brought Rollins back into the good side of morality. Like, yeah, we're fine. I'm glad that we're on the same page. We're still homies. And then it set up the Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn stuff, which we did miss.
Do you think that maybe they didn't know that Seth was going to get that reaction? Or do you think there was a question mark as to how the crowd was going to react? Or do you think they knew, like, all right, the crowd's still going to cheer for CM Punk?
Yeah, I think they knew. And I think Seth knew. You know, that segment started with like, yeah, fine, go ahead, chant his name if you want. I think they know that at this point, CM Punk could fight a bunch of kindergartners and people would chant CM Punk.
I think we are at that point, probably.
I think we really are.
Okay, so we didn't talk about the Sami Zayn part, so let's get to that. Basically, it was Sami saying, Seth, you are sounding like Drew McIntyre. That was the gist of this. And Seth was like, no, I'm not. I'm not sounding like Drew McIntyre. And then Sami tells him, no, you're better than this, right? And so they kind of, they end on good terms in this segment, and Seth basically tells him, you go deal with the stuff with Drew McIntyre. He challenges Drew McIntyre to a match, and Drew McIntyre attacks Sami Zayn on the stage. At this point, Seth Rollins was already gone. But here's the thing. We also had a Drew McIntyre promo earlier in the night. It was a vignette that I loved, by the way, because he basically said that after Hell in a Cell, he went back to Scotland. He was there with his family, and he kind of felt like for a minute that his gut was telling him to change. Maybe he was questioning some of his actions, but then he saw War Games and he saw CM Punk there with Roman and the Usos and Sami Zayn with their quote stupid little fingers up in the air, which killed me. That was my favorite part of all this. And then he was like, no, I'm going to come back and I'm going to fix this present and I'm going to fix the future because I don't like what I'm seeing. And I loved the explanation for this and seeing that Drew McIntyre is still this petty guy that we all want to see, because this is honestly the version of Drew McIntyre that I think we all want to see.
I think it's pretty neat that this interaction between CM Punk and Roman Reigns has had this major ripple effect that's creating so many storylines in feuds just from that partnership existing, just from the existence of the War Games match. Because now we have this Drew McIntyre stuff, the Punk and Rollins stuff is heating up. We have the future of potentially Roman Reigns and CM Punk. It just goes to show the power of the tribal chief, and just his name alone is able to drive narratives and storylines on shows he's not even a part of, Denise. That's how big the Roman Reigns aura is, that he's driving narratives for shows that happen on entirely different nights of the freaking week. That's the tribal chief power right there, Denise.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's the thing that I love to see. Dang, I can't even. I'm excited about all of this. I'm excited about what we're seeing. I want to see Drew McIntyre. Do you think that he is going to get that World Heavyweight Championship? Do you think it'll happen?
the World Heavyweight Championship, I
Yeah.
think it's inevitable. I really do think that it is. It's funny because like that picture, even though it feels like it's so narrow right now with Gunther and Damian and Finn, when you have an eagle's eye view at the real contenders, because I don't think it's Finn and Damian, it's got some pretty nutty names. Like Seth Rollins comes to mind, Punk, Drew McIntyre. I mentioned earlier in the show that I think part of the reason why we're so down on Gunther and Finn and Damian Priest is because we had those two guys, Punk and Drew McIntyre, call out for that title shot against Gunther, and we never were able to cross that bridge. And just knowing that that bridge is somewhere down the line is part of the reason why Gunther's feud might feel a little bit stale, but it also leaves for a lot of excitement down the line for the likes of Drew McIntyre to get these world title opportunities. I think 100% we're going to see Drew McIntyre get a world title opportunity. I'm confident he's going to win the world title because this Drew McIntyre is the best Drew McIntyre that I've ever seen. And he keeps getting better month after month after month. Literally just take Drew McIntyre at this exact same time last year, December 2023, and this version is infinitely more interesting, more dangerous, and far more of a lucrative feeling potential future world champion.
He feels like money. That's what he feels like. Just money. And I can't wait to see him become world heavyweight champion. I want to see him rub it in everybody's face. I want to see him be real petty with it, like the kid that doesn't want to share his toy. That's what I want to see with Drew McIntyre. But we got Dream Ninja 77 here who says, just got home from Raw. The in-person Rhea pop was insane. Loudest of the night by far. New Day boos were amazing. Ladies carried the night. Oh, that Rhea pop, man. I noticed that bad blood that she was getting pops, sometimes even louder than like your CM Punks or Cody Rhodes. Like it was up there with those kinds of reactions for what she gets, honestly. And then we need to get into the New Day stuff. We need to talk about this because this was the big topic last week after Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods turned on Big E. But this time, they went out there and they were trying to speak, but they were just completely outdone by all of the boos in the crowd. We were getting New Day a sucks chance. We were getting a Big E chance. You name it, it was happening. It was so freaking loud. I haven't heard boos like this for anybody in WWE that wasn't Dominic Mysterio. So to hear them now for the New Day was just insane. But I loved two things, Santi. One, that this started backstage and that they did Xavier Woods carrying the camera because you were seeing what they were seeing. And it kind of made the fan reaction hit a little bit harder because you really were seeing it from their perspective. And then two, the other thing that I loved was Xavier Woods being, he was just, crouching down a little bit, right? He's so angry. And then he goes, we didn't do anything. Exactly. That was my favorite part. So how'd you feel about the follow-up to this massive angle that we saw last week?
Well, let's not forget that it started even before that, right? They had a moment with Cody freaking Rhodes, the face of the WWE, like the physical manifestation of the guy that's supposed to be your poster child, pointing at them and saying, you should be ashamed. What is hilarious, to have Cody Rhodes be ashamed of you. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
That's what I said. I said he came across as a disappointed dad. I tweeted, I was waiting for Cody Rhodes to say, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. Literally. And then we had I always get them confused. Alpha Academy, like kind of shutting them. Randomly, Natalia's there. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Natalia's there too. But yeah, man, that crowd reaction that they had was, funnily enough, I felt was the last little stabbing motion from the New Day to really get this crowd reaction was them calling the cameraman Stu John Cena's little friend before they took his camera. I think just really, really set the tone and really set the pace the moment that they stepped out there, right? They didn't need the new theme song, which I'm sure we'll eventually get, to tell us these are bad guys that you need to boo. It was through their actions. It was through their interactions with the people that are seen as the morality figures of the WWE, like American. Alpha Academy, like Cody Rhodes. So by the time that they got out there, the fans didn't need the cue to boo them. You just knew the second they stepped out, they were public enemy number one. And I thought that it was just brilliantly set up, like well before they even stepped foot out there. They didn't even get to cut a promo. It really was just, this is too loud. No, we're done. We didn't do anything. What did we do? All of this denial based like on what they did, I thought was brilliant. I thought that this was louder than what we get from Dominic Mysterio. And one of the things that I mentioned to my community when we were doing our watch along was this is worse than Dominic Mysterio, because and by worse I mean better. Because the Dominic Mysterio boos to a degree are a meme. You do it because it's just the funny thing to do. That's not where the New Day is at. They weren't getting boos because it's the funny, cool thing to do. It's not for the LOLs. They were getting booed because they were awful. And they were awful based on what they did last week and based on their backstage interactions with, again, what are those morality good figures of the WWE telling them you're awful. By the time that they got out there, it was nuclear heat. It was set up brilliantly throughout the entire night.
It really just sold the gravity of the moment, because after everything that happened with the New Day last week, I mean, you saw it. It was all over social media. Everybody was sharing their reactions, talking about like, how could you do this, right? I shared a little clip of my interview with Big E on Instagram, and all the comments were like, I really, really hate Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for doing this to Big E. And people were so mad about it. And I feel like seeing the crowd and the way that they booed tonight, I felt like it's sort of, just went to it really went to show how much this really, really grabbed people's emotions. And it's been a while since we've had a story that has really done that to people. I mean, that wasn't the bloodline, of course, anything but the bloodline. This really did pull people in and in an emotional way. So I thought that was really great to see. We got John Taylor here who says, watch out, Denise, House of Black behind you, bro. I'm about to get freaking Malachi Black to freaking just spin kick me the hell out of here. We got Terrence Johnson who says maybe PFC could be a female Shield. Santi, this is all you right here.
Stop. What are you doing? All right. Why? I see people making this comparison. It's like, no, don't. There's never in a million years. Next.
Sleaze Boy says, need to change PFC name quick because it's bad enough that some of us deal with actual PFCs, not as lame as the name PCB. I prefer the original name. Also, Yoko was blamed for breaking up the Beatles. Yeah, so I knew that, but I just didn't know how that was going to play into the storyline idea here. But it's so funny because we're talking PFC, PCBs, and all of this. I mean, I don't know what to say, man. I'm telling you, change the name. That is step one. Everybody is saying we hate this. I know for a fact that WWE and Triple H and the powers that be and all of them are constantly looking on social media and seeing what the people say and what they're thinking. I know that they see the comments about, PFC not having a great name. They see it. Like, it's such an easy thing to do, I feel.
I agree with you. They have to know. They have to know that they have to at least understand that they don't have a winner on their hands with the name Pure Fusion Collective or Collection. I don't know.
I feel like maybe, I was going to say, what if they just called them PFC instead of doing the whole name? Because I did notice that they were doing that today on commentary, but that's not going to help. We know what it stands for and just how lame it is. All right, we got John Taylor here who says, Drew is the Principal Skinner meme. Am I out of touch? No, it's Sammy, Jay, and Jimmy that are wrong. Well, that's why he said he attacked them. He was like, didn't like them going out there and being all happy and selling out for freaking Roman Reigns. Like, that was not something that Drew agreed to. Thank you, John. We got Bailey Darley here who says, I want CM Punk to be eliminated by Seth, to turn heel, and theme song to change. CM Punk's always had some really great freaking theme songs. Like, all of his theme songs for me have hits. So let me see. CM Punk to be eliminated by Seth, to turn heel, and then the theme song to change. I'm assuming you mean Seth to turn heel on this one. I don't know who's going to win the Royal Rumble, though, Santi. I don't got any picks yet for the men.
I had The Rock for the longest time, but now all these rumors that he's not going to be potentially at WrestleMania 41 just have me up in the air. Honestly, I Can I give you my
I hate my life.
I could do I'll give the people my fantasy booking while you turn on the lights.
I'll be back.
Listen, folks, if it's not The Rock that's going to win the Royal Rumble, I think that it's going to be Seth Rollins, and then CM Punk is going to do the ultimate heel move and get that WrestleMania main event favor, and thus stealing and inserting himself into the WrestleMania main event with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns.
I feel so bad that I missed all of that, Santi. All I caught was Roman Reigns at the end. I'm like, all right, I was trying to piece it together what you just said.
The audience is there with me. They heard it.
All right, fine, guys. This is what happens when you got your lights turning off every damn 10 seconds. Bailey Darley here says New Day needs to win tag titles with that heat. Dude, anybody. I will pick anybody. I will pick 2 random people from this live audience to become new tag team champions at this point. That's how badly I want new tag champs.
I'm literally grabbing the first 2 things that I see. Here's my phone. Here's my purple mouse. World Tag Team Champions right here. They will defend this more. All right, right here. Book it, Adam Pearce.
Book it. Bailey Darley, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, let's see. We got to get into, we got one more topic to hit on, and that is the Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament that we've been seeing today. We got Ivy, Nile versus Lyra, and Zelina here. This was a pretty short match that we got here, but Lyra wins with her Nightwing. How'd you feel about it?
I felt like they should have spread these 3 in different matches, because all 3 of them were more believable than some of the women that are in other matches. Love Katana Chance, love Kaden Carter. I'll never believe that they're going to win, right? Like that's just not how they've been booked, and they're never going to be somebody that I would think as credible threats. I'm not saying Ivy Nile would be the first inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion, but she's a beast, and she's got the backing of American Made. I could have believed her as somebody that could win the first round in nefarious ways. Zelina Vega, loved by so many, seen as this person that has never really been given that proper opportunity. I could have seen her win the first round match. And then, of course, Lyra Valkyria. I don't think that there's any debate there. A lot of people could see her winning the first match. A lot of people could see her as a potential winner. And unfortunately, these 3 really credible options to go deep in this tournament kind of had to cannibalize each other in an opening match. When I see other potential matches that could have benefited from having them in those, and say have Kaden Carter in this one, and it could have been Kaden Carter versus 2 of these instead of all 3 that were really viable options. It just kind of sucks that the 3 of them had to kind of take each other out of this tournament. But I think they made the right call. I think Lyra is the right call.
I think so too. I know a lot of people have been showing a lot of support for Zelina, but you mentioned a really good point about, sort of eliminating people that you could see go very far in this tournament, or at least use the tournament to come across looking a little bit better, right? Even if you take an L in the tournament and you don't make it all the way to the end, you can still come out looking really good, right? Because when you think about it, for example, Lyra Valkyria, who made it all the way to the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament, even though she took an L, she came out looking really good. Like, I want to see that version of Lyra Valkyria once again. But I'm looking at this bracket here, and I'm going to pull it up. I really feel, though, like Lyra, Zelina, and Ivy, I have a feeling they put them in there in a sort of way because, to me, in a way, I felt like Lyra was sort of the one that was the glue here. They kept it really short because I almost feel that they didn't trust them to put on a lengthier match, but also at the exact same time, they kind of had a lot of segments on this show. But looking at this bracket now, I mean, the one that's tough and probably the toughest one are the 2 that are upcoming because, Raquel, yeah, you know what? I guess that one's not so tough because I was going to say Zoe Starks has a good chance, but after the PFC trashing, maybe not so much. So maybe Raquel's the clear obvious one. But Alba Kyrie and Natalia, that one could really go in any direction, Santi.
Alba Fire, if you've only watched the main roster of WWE, you might be in for a treat. Like, if they actually do a proper singles push for Alba Fire, she is awesome as a singles wrestler. But Kyrie, I could see her winning. I could see them going deep with Natalia in this tournament as well, like as a, maybe as a final, like, sort of farewell to cap a illustrious career. So It could go in honestly a couple different ways in that one.
Dude, I'm looking at this and now I'm thinking, yeah, Dakota, Raquel, that makes the most sense on the left side. Lyra, oh God, Lyra and Natalia, I think would probably have the best match on the other side of things. And then, oh God, maybe, and then that's where I get stuck. Honestly, Santi, that's where I get stuck. And I guess in a way that's good because the Intercontinental tournament doesn't look as predictable as some may think. But yeah, I feel like Dakota Kai could take this, Lyra Valkyria could take this, and Raquel Rodriguez could possibly take this, as well as Natalia because of the respect factor and everything that she's done in the business. I feel she can take it too. So there's just a lot of different solid options for the Intercontinental title tournament here.
Yeah, it's just, and I said this in the show last week. When I see that bracket, it's like, oof, this sucks compared to the SmackDown bracket for the U.S. Women's title. It's not even close in terms of the raw power, like raw star power. No pun intended, because Raw. Anyway, I'm confusing people with the word Raw. The SmackDown bracket is just so much better in terms of just star power in general.
We got Bailey Darley here who says New Day needs to win tag titles with that. I already read that. Sorry about that. Ryan Adams says, don't forget about the You Can't See Me man as a Rumble winner. I feel like, look, a lot of people have been mentioning John Cena as a Royal Rumble winner. I do think that we are going to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Whether or not he wins the Rumble, that's a different story. I don't know. There are ways to get to the WrestleMania main event without winning the Royal Rumble. I feel like I would sound kind of basic and boring if I said John Cena Royal Rumble winner. So that's the only reason why I haven't settled on actually giving him as my actual pick.
They just keep really hitting home. This is John Cena's last time in Canada. Elimination Chamber. I think he wins the Chamber, not the Rumble.
Good one. All right, we got John Taylor here who says, bought a house and found out all the plumbing was PFC. I was so let down. Y'all are crazy. We got Soundwave 80s. Thank you, by the way, John. We got Soundwave 80s who says, have you ever watched Punky Brewster? I've never seen Punky Brewster, but I've heard a whole lot about it. Have you ever seen it, Santi?
Don't even know what that is.
It's like a show from, let me see. It's the show from the 80s, and it was with was Soleil Moon Fire, I guess, was Punky Brewster. But yeah, I feel like I know the actress from somewhere, though, and I can't put my finger on it right now, but I'm pretty sure I've seen her someplace else. So if someone can remind me what else she's on that I've actually seen, because I feel like I've seen her somewhere. Anyways, 2011 Cards fan says Denise channeling her inner Lyra Valkyria. I know I'm just going to start the woo, the little woo chant. We got Bailey Darley who says, I want Rhea to win the Rumble and Seth to turn heel and his theme song to change. Okay, that's where he was at. Are you over Seth Rollins' theme song with all the singing and everything?
I was never really on board with it. I don't hate it, but I was never a whoa guy. I never sang along.
I feel like after a minute, you kind of get over it a little bit. So yeah, I've been there. We got Ryan Adams who says, announced for Raw next week, tag title match, Judgment Day versus War Raiders, Braun versus Ludwig, title match. Ooh, okay. So, oh, hey. Yeah, do we finally think War Raiders will defeat the Judgment Day?
Yes, please.
Right?
Just please, yes.
And then Braun versus Ludwig for the Intercontinental title. Yeah, I'm not seeing Braun to lose this, by the way. I don't think that's going to happen just yet.
Do you think Sheamus returns?
Sure, possibly. Yeah.
Okay.
We got David Primero who says, FYI, John Cena hasn't held the Intercontinental title. Ooh, is that something you'd be interested in seeing?
Absolutely. I've already said before, I've been on the record saying that I want Super Cena. I need him to win everything in this last run. Just really like hammer it home. Yes, I want him to collect everything. I'll take him winning the women's championship at this point. Everything. I need him to win every single accolade. You got King of the Ring now? Have him win King of the Ring. A Grand Slam Intercontinental Championship? Do it. 17th? Of course. Everything for Cena in this last run.
I have the best idea ever. Bring back the 24/7 championship and make John Cena champion.
The John Cena 24/7 I-11 7-Eleven, Kentucky 95. Give him all of that.
I was about to say, I wonder how many freeways you know. I was waiting for you just to list off every freeway that you know.
Um,
We got Blitz fan here who says people say Drew is right and or Kevin is right. Nah, Kofi and Xavier are. Big E definitely could have come back to support New Day, but he left them for 4 years. But he had a broken neck.
so what?
This is just nuts. How are people turning on Big E? Blitz fan, what are you thinking? I can't even. This is so sad. But no, I know why people are saying this, and I guess that's what makes the story, more appealing, right? You want to add layers, just like real life. You got it's not always so good. It's not always a good versus evil, right? Sometimes you got, sort of good versus sort of bad, and sort of good versus sort of bad, all of that. So, hey, it kind of translates a little bit to real life. We got David Primero here who says maybe Braun versus John Cena for the Intercontinental title to give John Cena his first. But look, Santi, I know you're on board with giving John Cena everything, but I don't want to see people like Braun Breaker be sacrificed for John Cena.
No, that's not a sacrifice. That's just doing the honors. He'll get it back. It'll be fine. It's Cena. Come on, it's fine.
All right. We got Andrew Panagiotis who says Bayley is going to Raw and winning a title. We'll see. I would love to see Bayley on Raw. I would definitely feel fresh. It's been a minute since she's been on Raw, so that would be exciting to see. Thank you so much to Andrew. All right, Santi, I think we kind of got everything here, right? For Raw, we're good. We did it. We did it. Our second show. I want to first off, before we wrap things up, thank everybody because we got so much support last week for our show, Santi, and so many people just sent in like the nicest messages. We saw them, we read them, and it was just so kind of everybody to show support for this new Raw collaboration. So thank you very much. Santi and I will continue to be here each and every single Monday to talk some Raw. We got another super chat here from John Taylor here who says, Cena for 24/7, 7-Eleven, 605 South Street, Cerritos, Auto Square, PNC champion in 2025, Cerritos, Auto Square. Santi, I know you're Canadian, but do you know about Cerritos Auto Square?
Don't know.
All right, so really quickly, it's in my neck of the woods. So Cerritos Auto Square is in Cerritos, California, and there's a giant mall, but there's a street right next to it that has every single auto dealer possible, like Jeep, Mitsubishi, I don't know, Honda, Toyota, you name them. All of them are there in one street. And so you basically get to go and like shop for like all the cars that you want, any brand, Cerritos Autos. And they have a little commercial that goes, Cerritos Auto Square.
Thanks.
I have to know this. This is like a California thing.
Thanks.
You know what, Santi? Watch. When you come to Los Angeles, I'm going to take you to Cerritos Auto Square, all right? And we're going to walk around, we're going to eat some macaroons, and we're going to look at the cars. Alrighty, everyone. Santi, please let the people know where they can follow you and all of that good stuff.
All right, folks, just Google Santi's app and pick what you want, whether it's the TikTok, the Instagram, the YouTube, the Patreon, the Wrestling is Cool podcast, the Twitter. Just Google it, pick and choose. You'll find my what do I have? My link tree. It has everything. All right, Santi's app. Just look it up on whatever platform you want to be on. I'm going to be there.
Perfect. Same for me at _ Denise Salcedo everywhere. Come to the YouTube channel if you haven't. I am less than 10,000 subscribers away from 200K. I'm trying to catch up to Santi here, so don't leave me far behind, guys. I feel like a jobber. Like I should be on main event or something, Santi. Like I haven't gotten to the WrestleMania level yet. So someone help me get to WrestleMania over here. But no, seriously, AEW content is all up right now if you guys want to check it out. Interviews with Tony Khan, Swerve Strickland, Bryan Danielson, Bobby Lashley, all of those people. So come on over, check that stuff out. And thank you so much. We will see you guys back here next week. Bye, everyone.